So here's the Nintendo 64 I bought for Everett. And I bought the kids laptops. I bought the kids one of the old school original Nintendos. I bought the kids a whole wardrobe full of clothes, and they didn't get to keep any of it. And of course, when initially after the divorce, they lost all their belongings at that point too, and nothing was transferred to their new residence. Nothing was allowed to be kept from the past. What do you think? Think Everett's gonna get to play with this Nintendo? What do you think the chances are? Very typical parental alienation tactic is to make sure the kids can't keep anything from the alienated parent. Honolulu's beautiful though. Check it out. It's a beautiful world we live in. Unfortunately, not all of us people are all that beautiful. So, I just saw the kids for the first time in 3 months. And remember, that's because Grace had a broken arm, and I wasn't allowed to see them because I might re-break her arm, according to somebody. And then there was a no-show at the last visit. So it's been 3 months now since I've seen the kids. Saw them in February, now it's May, and I just saw them, and it was super hard. Everett was repeatedly calling me a yummy chicken, saying he wanted to eat me, and they were both hitting me repeatedly, like aggressively hitting, kicking, punching. Everett said he wanted to choke me. He kept trying to choke me, and I mean, there was a lot of hugs and like brief moments of sadness too, but there's a lot of anger also because I'm not around, because I'm not allowed to be around, and it's just pretty awful. Things Everett said to me during the visit was, you don't care about anything but fruit. It's one of the things he said, because I brought him a bunch of organic fruit, again, like I always do. And he said, you only care about yourself. And then he said a lot of things about money. I wish I could remember them all. They all came kind of quickly and out of the blue, and but he said, all you care about is yourself and spending money and wasting money on yourself, which, if anybody knows me in my situation, is absolutely hilarious. I spent every single penny I've ever made trying to get visitation to the kids. So there's that. But I mean, he was definitely parroting somebody, and you know. And I'm documenting the evidence as usual. Maybe it'll lead to something, maybe not. Things Everett said, and even though Everett was acting out the most of the two, and he was like the more violent and the more outspokenly rude one, I think that he's actually less traumatized than Grace. Grace doesn't remember anything, even from last year at Encinitas. She's like pretty much blocked out all history. It's easier in her situation to block out the past rather than have the painful memory of a father who loves her and not be allowed to see him. It's just easier to pretend like he never existed in the first place. And there's other weird little like voyages into fantasy that she goes in that I think are also connected to that same pain, and you know, and being 5 and not being able to codify that pain in a rational way. It was very good seeing both the kids. It was healing for me to an extent. I don't know if I'll ever be able to help either of them truly recover from the damage that they've suffered at this point. It's just too horrendous to be to be stuck in a toxic household with toxic people saying toxic things about your own dad all the time, constantly being, having your dad be rated, and being 3 to 5 and 5 to 7, and not being able to have anything to say about it, having no way to defend. It was very good seeing both the kids. Everett, a new Nintendo 64. Well, not a new Nintendo 64, but a used Nintendo 64 that I found on eBay with some games. The game that he wanted Legends of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and I found a copy of that in the Nintendo 64 and ordered it and brought it. And I was given back the Nintendo that I bought them a couple of months ago that they've never gotten to play. It's still in the box. They weren't allowed to play it, as far as I know, at all. So, which is another parental alienation technique. You just don't allow the child to have any of the presents that the other parent gives. You don't allow the child to have any books that the other parent gives. You don't allow the child to have any CDs that the other parent gives. I mean, no access to the other parent. It's just awful. Everett, and I don't know what the kids are going to remember, as this alienation goes on. It's been 2 years already, and there's no end in sight. I don't know what the kids are going to remember. Are they going to remember me following them from Oregon to California, and then following them again from California to Hawaii, and signing up for anger management classes that I didn't need, signing up for all this stuff that I really didn't need. I've been a great parent since before Everett was born, and just on the word of one person, I'm guilty until proven innocent, and there's no way to prove me innocent, because that party's going to say I'm guilty forever to back up their initial position. There's no way out of it. And I just don't know if the kids are going to remember how much effort I put into trying to save their mental health by being in their lives. I just don't know if they're going to remember any of this. Or, what they're going to think about it. Because it's tricky to have a perspective that makes any kind of sense when you're in an insane situation, trying to figure out, logic and reason in an insane situation is not really something that an adult can do, much less a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 7-year-old can do. And I don't know. I know it's very sad that my kids have had to suffer like this. And it's very hard for me to have to face the fact that even though I've been doing absolutely everything I can, moving from state to state, going to courthouse after courthouse, filling out paperwork after paperwork, calling therapist after therapist, just everything that I can to be in my kids' lives, and failing them is just, it's been a really bitter pill for me to swallow. I'm not used to failure. Almost everything I've ever tried to do, I've succeeded at pretty wildly in most cases, and this lack of success on something that's so much more important than anything else I've ever done is devastating and unfair. So I wanted to document everything where it's at right now, so that's what I'm doing here. Now I'm gonna call back, try and get some kind of visitation for next month, try and get some kind of Father's Day visitation, try and get something, some kind of reasonable, rational, sensible parenting time with my 2 kids. And again, I have no criminal record of any kind. I have 2 parking tickets. I have no history of violence, no history of aggression, no threats made, nothing. And I've been kept from my kids for 2 full years in the most egregious and cruel manner. It's unbelievable. I mean, I tell people this story and they don't believe me. They're like, he must be like, a closet serial killer, or he must have beat her or something, They're trying to rationalize how it could be this way. But it's because we live in a toxic, broken system.